Namaste. Welcome to this Satsang Q&A. And this is volume 10 of these recordings. And every month we get online to go through as many questions as we can. There's quite a lot in the queue. And if you want to send in a question for Satsang to be answered like this, on one of these videos, you can go to the Satsang page at helenhamilton.org, and it will be in the description below this video. And you can send in your question. So you can ask a question this way if you simply can't get on a live Satsang due to your time zone or whatever. Or you can ask if you'd rather remain anonymous in your asking as well. These questions are always read out anonymously. So we will dive in and get started with the questions today. So, as always, I have Anish here with me to read the questions for me. Thank you so much, Anish, whenever you're ready.
Hi, Helen. First question. Dear Helen, for many years I have been part of a beautiful Sangha of great importance to the members. We meditate together and try to deepen our common understanding of different spiritual texts. Now, a conflict on a personal level has arisen between two of the members of the group. It is not new, however, and it seems unsolvable. But being some kind of facilitator for the group, they both look up to me and others too for some kind of help, for someone to take responsibility for talking to the other. I feel quite sure that no traditional talk will be fruitful. It feels like a crucial point which can lead to dissolving of the group or dissolving of the group's ego. It hurts. How to be of actual help in this process?
So, um, when we find ourselves in a situation like this, it can be very difficult. And the question that you asked, I really, really like how to be of actual help rather than what we think would help. It's a very direct and beautiful question. And in any kind of circumstance that I found myself a similar position, being seemingly in between two beings and having to try to manage what was going on, the most direct path for me was to try to remember and see in my experience through direct self-inquiry that there isn't three beings there. There isn't a me having to manage these two beings. And when we recognize that there's just one being playing out its egoic pattern through three body minds in this situation, in fact, across all the members of the group, but the Sangha, then it's going to really shift the whole thing to a higher perspective. What's possible to manifest as a resolution to this is going to be completely different. So it might not be that you say or do anything different, but maybe there's a resting as the real self, where there's no sense of separation between you and these other body minds, and then just seeing from that open place what wants to happen, what is it that wants to emerge from you spontaneously without the sense of separation. Whatever happens from there is going to be for the benefit of everyone involved. And if you are able to inquire and directly see that you're not a separate being, you are formless consciousness appearing as a human being, just as they are too, then that's going to be of the most help. And if you need some help with that, check out the self-inquiry videos here on the YouTube channel. There's playlists that can really help you dive into that and really experience who you actually are and who they are. Hope that helps, and sending lots of love. Thanks, Anish.
Hello, Helen. Grateful for everything you offer. You have been my daily listening ear since I found you. I have spent 14 years trying to make my way through life, doing everything to improve. But just when I think I'm making progress, I only fall back further. I can't be happy. My friends tell me that I meditate too much and that I never get out of poverty. My question is this: if I am the being, why isn't my life a reflection of plenty and expansion? If I lead a life of internal searching, why aren't fruits visible? Thank you so much in advance. I honor you.
Thank you. I honor you too. For me, what you've just written here is really very similar to what I was experiencing in my journey. There was a lack of fruits, a very big lack of fruit of awakening. And it came down to the fact that even though I was seeing more and more clearly who I actually was and am, this formless presence, this infinite no-thingness, that seeing and that knowing was still trying to embody itself through some very limiting beliefs. And these limiting beliefs were things that were so deeply rooted that it was hard for me to see them even being there, except for some negative emotion that would come and the lack of fruit, as you're saying here. And here in this teaching, we have something called contemplation that really is designed specifically for this. So I suggest checking out here on the YouTube channel the contemplation playlist. Really, we are the infinite oneself. And yet, if that infinite oneself is still believing itself on a deep level to be unworthy of abundance and joy and all good things, peace, whatever it is, or that it's not safe, that we're not safe really to let our lives be joyful, or whatever we're believing, or usually some sense of limitation, feeling that I can't get what I want. These beliefs are so believed that we're not even sure or aware that we're thinking them. We don't even know we're thinking those things, except for the emotion that comes to the surface and the way it reflects as our outer experience. Our inner experience is always dictating our outer experience. And I would suggest, therefore, looking at contemplation, checking out what emotions you feel on a regular basis, and looking at the belief behind those. And again, more detailed instructions in the contemplation videos. But recognizing this is not failure happening in your awakening. This is actually success, even though it feels terrible. Your awakening is deepening, and so much so that these old beliefs that most of us live with our whole life, I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve happiness, or whatever, are becoming really very problematic now. But we all lived with and accepted to be true, now are so far out of alignment with who you're seeing yourself to be that we have to begin to investigate them. So I'd suggest really looking at the contemplation videos and diving in, asking a question. Find the emotion, then find the question, and stay with it for 30 days. And you'll find that things begin to turn around. It's not enough to simply see who you really are. We also have to see who we are not even more clearly. And that became so important for me in my own journey. That's why there's contemplation here in these teachings. Contemplation is the art of asking a question to bring us out of subscribing to a belief that applies to a separate person, but not to who we really are. So I'd really encourage you to have a look at those videos. Thank you so, so much. Thanks, Anish.
Next question. Hello, Helen. There's a recurring pattern in my experience as a person where manipulators appear, whether they are con artists or emotional manipulators. I was watching a portion of a satsang on the website where you talk about this as an expression of self rejection at some point. I see it that way too, and your answer makes perfect sense, but I don't know how to approach it. Self inquiry, asking myself, how am I rejecting myself? Or is it really true that I don't love myself? Would be options, perhaps. I feel like it's something so veiled. so deeply embedded in my subconscious that it has conditioned almost my entire personal life experience. How can I more directly and effectively clear that belief? I so appreciate your response, your love, and your presence.
Thank you. Um, Again, very similar to my own journey. And the thing that really began to shift it for me was a recognition that if on some level I'm rejecting myself or even hate myself, it must be because I think I know who I am and who I am is not good enough or is deeply, deeply flawed. And that was so believed. So I was deeply believing that I wasn't good enough, I was flawed, imperfect. But as well as that, there was this deep conviction, absolute conviction inside that I know who I am and who I am is not good enough. That the information I'm getting about myself from my mind is accurate and reliable to use. And that how I think about myself, and I'm not talking about the formless consciousness at this point, but more so how it's showing up as my mind, my body, my personality, my life, all of that. That is accurate information coming about what's going on. So if we take an example, I supposed to go somewhere, be somewhere at a certain time, but I get in the car late and I end up showing up there late. And the person I'm supposed to meet is upset because I didn't tell them I was going to be late. And the mind starts criticizing, excuse me, starts criticizing me. Why did you do that? You know, you shouldn't have done that, and all of this stuff. And you should have said before you left that you're going to be late. Now you've upset this person, and all these thoughts going on. And my mind says it's justified in criticizing me because I've done something that I should not have done, or not done something that I should do. When I really looked at it, I found that this experience of not telling this person, I'm going to be late, I'm really sorry, I'm just leaving now, going to be a little bit late, not doing the right thing, is a reflection of my self-criticism. Not that I should criticize myself because I've done something wrong, but this criticism was a reflection. Sorry, this event is a reflection of my criticism and could not happen without the criticism going on. So there's a realization that happened that my mind is talking about who it thinks I am, and that my mind has never actually experienced who I am. In reality, I felt immediately aware in this situation I'm describing that I should have said something before I left, and I resolved not to do that again and apologize to the person. It was all resolved. But my mind wouldn't let it go, you know, and it became clear that my mind has a very different picture of me, and it's a very negative picture of me. And it's not my mind's fault, it's not your mind's fault. The mind thinks it actually knows you, that it can see who you are, and really it can't. It's not sentient in that way. It's working off, it's talking from an image in terms of thoughts of who it thinks you are. And it can't change that image because it doesn't have any actual reference point. It's only going on previous experiences. And those experiences have been reflections of our same self-criticism and judgment. So, a really profound question that I ask myself that you might really resonate with is, have I actually met myself? Because most people, including myself, we could sit and do some deep self-inquiry and realize our own formless consciousness, our omnipresence is reality. But then the very next minute, there's critical thoughts about what the body and mind are doing. And the body and mind are an expression of this infinite formless presence, just as equally perfect. So, has your mind met you? Is it a good source to listen to? We all assume it is, but actually, it's not. And we don't need to make the mind the bad guy here. We don't need to reject that, because that's just more mind stuff. There's got to be simply more now curiosity to meet yourself, actually, to actually see how you are. Yeah, I might have messed up, but I immediately corrected it as soon as I could. I'm actually quite a good person, really. Quite as loving as I can be, compassionate. And now I'm just applying that to myself more. You need to now apply that to yourself more. If someone did something to you, you'd probably want to find out why they did it rather than immediately blame. There'd be more of an urge, even if there was some blame that came from you. Very quickly after, there might be some thought that says, they must be some having a bad day or something. They wouldn't normally be like that. Why can't we be like that with ourselves? So my suggestion would be to stick with this question. Have I ever really met myself? If you ask 10 of your friends to describe you, how you move through life, what qualities you have, what you value, they would give you a very different picture than you would write for yourself. If you asked any awakened being to describe you, they would give you a very different picture, total opposite of what you're holding about yourself. And in our wish to wake up to the truth and be devoted to truth, we have this great allegiance with this very critical image of ourselves. And it's time to let it go. Can you be your own best friend? Can you be your own greatest fan? Yes, there might be some things you want to still improve upon, just as there is for me. But we don't need to do that from a critical place. The bottom line of it all is your mind does not know what it's talking about. Best to go straight to the source and ask, what am I actually like? Have I ever really actually seen how my body is moving, what it's doing? Or have I only experienced what I think about what's going on? You'd be very shocked in a very good way. Thanks, Anish.
Next question. Hi, Helen. I connected with you after my father's suicide when my brother was wanting to end his life. He's thankfully more stable now. I hadn't had suicidal thoughts for 10 years after an awakening, but the karmic patterns of this body became strong again last year, and I needed medication. Psychosis has been appearing again recently, but I've ridden it through without medication. I was called to listen to one of your satsangs, and awakened being instantly became the primary position again. It seems life is calling me to avoid medication and to live a life more in solitude, which I have for many years, in order to awaken completely beyond the gravitational pull of the thought matrix. My question is this just a delusional thought? And should I just accept that the body has mental illness and take appropriate medication? I realize that all thoughts are delusional, really, but I'd love to hear what comes through for you to speak. Thank you so much for your love.
Thank you. Um, I'm so glad to hear that your brother is more stable. That's very good. Most of all, what I want to say about what you've written is that we don't need to necessarily decide anything about what's going on. Even this question of medication or not, perhaps especially this question also. Ultimately, we're not choosing in the way that we think, we're not deciding in the way that we think. And a decision will arise, the body will either take medication or it won't. And I had to look at this when my own mental health was very unstable years and years ago as my awakening really began to deepen and ended up having to take medication and really battling against it. I really didn't want to. But it actually showed me something that all forms of healing are appropriate at certain times. and we can do whatever is good for the body. And we most of all don't need to decide, is it my spiritual health, my awakening, or my mental health? Can we not embrace both of those? Maybe the healing of our mental health is actually part of our awakening, a deep intrinsic part of our awakening. And maybe we can't really separate those two. It certainly wasn't that way for me. Only from a deep awakening could I actually finally heal what was causing so much depression and all of that, and bringing me to a point where I didn't want to stay in this life at all. And without that, I wouldn't be sitting here able to answer your question without those experiences. But life taught me again and again something I'd really like to pass along, which is to not know anything. Perhaps don't even decide what is happening, and whether you said about life leading you to awakening, leading you into a deeper seclusion. I would actually throw that thought away if I was in your position and I had to. It's better to not know what something is trying to show you and stay open. And a deep awakening should be possible no matter where we are in the world, whether we're living in a metaphorical cave or forest or a mountaintop or an actual cave, or in the middle of the city, in the middle of a busy life. I had this idea that I couldn't wake up with four small children, and life showed me that just really wasn't true. I was of the mindset that I had to wait till they'd grown up and then I could go somewhere and really deepen my spirituality and my meditation and everything. But right in the middle of all the chaos where you are right now, all that's going on, is perfect for you to wake up and transcend any thoughts around it. So, better to be open and to ask, what is this trying to show me? What is the best way to be with this? And to notice any set ways of thinking coming up and be willing to let those go if you can. And you'll find your way through anything and everything then with the guidance of the real self, without the sense of a doer or a decider, a separate being who's having to decide. Things will flow so much more easily. And whatever the body does, whether it takes any medication or not, there'll be a peace inside and an ability to move forward much, much faster. Hope that helps. Thanks, Anish.
Next question. Do we have a purpose? I feel like at this point in my life, I'm just living day to day without any goals. I'm just mindful of being present and observing when I'm afraid or worried.
So, the purpose that we might have had as a separate being, an imaginary separate being, might have been many things. For me, there were many purposes for doing anything. One of those was to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel special, to feel accepted, needed, all of those things. And most of all, this grand purpose that the separate sense of self had for a long time, to wake up to truth. Everything I'm doing is with this subtext underneath that I need to wake up to the truth of my being. But all of that began to kind of fall away as awakening really deepened. And amazingly, to the point where there's really no purpose behind anything. There's really no, I'm not doing this Q&A session here, this recording, in order to help you wake up, even. I'm not doing it to get my message across or anything. In fact, I don't really know why I'm doing it. It's just happening. And from there, there's an openness. So it's a little uncomfortable at first to let go of all of our purposes. If there really is any purpose at all, it would be only to see clearer who we already are, what we already are. And even if I do this with the purpose of trying to help you wake up to the truth, I'm in fact stating that you're not already the infinite self, not already the awakeness, the consciousness, the presence. So I'm kind of left with this feeling that I don't really know why I'm doing anything. But far from that being boring or scary or just drifting through life like the mind thought it might be, it actually brings a deep and rich um, richness to every moment, and a fullness and a sense of connection with life in all of its forms. That even if I have a sense of why I'm doing something, there's a subtle separation. If there's a purpose for my actions, then I'm so very subtly in separation with this moment. There's a me and this moment, a me and consciousness, me and stillness, or whatever we're calling our real nature. So try it out just a little bit at a time if you feel like you have no reason why you sit to meditate in the morning or the evening, whenever. But let the body do it anyway, with no reason, not trying to get anywhere. Just meditation happening can be very, very different. And of course, the same with all of our practices and all of our life. If I'm not doing something to make another being like me or need me, what happens when I'm just meeting someone from the fullness of who they really are and who I am with no sense of separation? It's really quite beautiful. And it is how our real being moves through any experience. It's just experienced, it just happens. And it doesn't leave any mark upon us then. It's just enjoyed. And the next thing comes that the body experiences. So hope that helps. Have fun with it and play with it. Thanks, Anish.
Hello, Helen. Nice to meet you. I was at your retreat for the first time last week of June for 5 days, which have been very enriching for me. I was blessed that you chose me to answer my question. I live in Texas and I have two daughters who are going to different schools, and I will also be moving around the city of Houston. The questions I had to ask myself helped me a lot so I wouldn't worry about my daughters and for me to take on a new chapter in my life. Work area, since I arrived in Texas, several cats have been introduced to me and have approached me with love, and I have fed them, and I love them very much. And one of the kittens has had many kittens, and those kittens have had even more kittens. But I'm in a situation where I cannot take them to Houston, and where I'm going to live, they do not allow pets. I do not want to take them where they are captured because they will most certainly be killed. How could I ask them, or what self inquiry questions could I ask? Thank you, Helen. I'm grateful that you came into my life. Unconditional love.
Thank you. I'm grateful that you came into my life too. And perhaps the most important thing to realize about this is that whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And the highest outcome for this situation is possible only if we're not holding on to a sense of separation around it. And so, if there's any sense of having to decide, I need to make the right decision, I need to make the best decision for the well being of these little fur babies, a lot of fur babies, it sounds like, then there's going to be a sense of separation there with um, a sense of a doer, a decider. That you need to make an idea that you need to make the right decision, and that the wrong decision could cost yourself and them very dearly. So it's better to really question if you can make a decision even like this, and to self-inquire and remind yourself directly, like we did on retreat, that there isn't actually someone here deciding. Decisions arise, and the highest decision will arise spontaneously. Or you might just find your body moving to do something. Or maybe you come across someone who can help you just randomly. someone who wants some kittens or something like that. But whatever it is, it will be the highest outcome possible because there's no sense of separation, diminishing what can flow through. So, a really good question for me in situations where there's a strong sense of a doer or a decider was to ask myself, what wants to happen here? Or what's the highest manifestation here? Every time I thought I knew what that was, just to come back to that question and stay with it until I was certain. There was a certainty and knowing, not a trying to think through what should I do. Mind might still do that, or I need to decide what should I do, but a knowing, a deep knowing that's richer and fuller and more primary and fundamental to trying to think something through. This is the right thing. Or my body just would just move and do something. It'd pick up the phone or it would, whatever it would do. And it's still like that now. Like, what's the highest thing that can happen here? What's the best outcome for all these beings? And taking the pressure off of yourself in that way as a separate being. Of course, you love them and of course, you want the best for them, just like your human babies too. But if you put this pressure on yourself that you're a separate being that got to decide, that's a very heavy burden. And it also limits what can manifest. So if you like this question, what's trying to happen here? What wants to happen anyway? There'll be a higher solution that isn't visible, but will happen as we stay open and see. And the body will do the actions that are in alignment with that highest manifestation. So again, hope that helps, and lots of love to you and all of your babies. Thanks, Anish.
Next question. Dear Helen, I get strong feelings of depression every 3 to 4 days. It's almost a regular thing. On these days, I don't feel like working. I'm very irritable and grumpy. My body almost aches from this feeling. What is it? I started to suspect recently it's a call to expand more to what I really am, that is, consciousness, instead of remaining in my personhood. Thank you.
Yeah, it's was the most painful part of my awakening. Seemingly these alternating moments of knowing who I really am and seeing it very clearly. And then later just feeling so completely lost in the pits of despair and desperation and almost like going from heaven to hell and back again and on and on. And for me, as horrible as that was, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone, although it seems that we go through it that way, most of us, it did have this very auspicious purpose, and that was to really bring this desire to the forefront, to do whatever it took to live as the truth constantly, effortlessly. And of course, it's there in you, that desire. But um, most of us need some kind of friction to really have that desire come in a very strong way. And for me, it wasn't a beautiful, graceful moment when it really came. It was a desperate moment where I was on my knees begging and praying to anyone that would listen. Please just get me out of this. I will do whatever it takes. I can't live another day like this. And something began to shift shortly after that. I said those words before many times, but this time there was such sincerity. Like, if my awakening cost me everything that I think to be true, I will pay it. There was a kind of a conviction behind it then. And events began to unfold that just really showed me that I have never been the person who I think I am. And even if we've seen that already, it comes with such deeper clarity and a deeper conviction to the point of certainty, so that whenever my mind speaks, I know that it's talking to who it thinks I am and not to myself, the real self. So every time that you feel this way, can you look at it as fuel for the internal fire of devotion? You know, if we're trying to get a steam train moving, there's a big fire in the engine, and they have to put a lot of fuel, a lot of coal into it to get enough steam to begin to move this heavy train. And I decided that it just arose spontaneously after this very sincere prayer, very desperate prayer, um, that everything I went through was going to be fuel for this fire inside of devotion to the truth. So that even when I'm thinking that I'm never going to get out of this, that I'm never going to wake up to the truth, that I'm only going backwards, not forwards, and that it's not possible for me to realize who I am, because there were so many of those times, that I would take that and say, no, I offer this also. I'm putting it in the fire. I'm going to let it burn. I don't know if it's possible for me or not. I only think I know. I don't know that it's true that I'm never going to wake up. I only think that I know. And then I don't know what awakening would look like if it's being successful. It might look like this that I'm going through right now. So also this intensity came that every time I felt the way that you're describing, that this would be one time closer to never feeling that way again, that I was going to use it completely. I was going to use every experience to fuel my awakening. And there wasn't any magic moment where it suddenly shifted, but there was a gradual at first, but much faster and faster turnaround of everything, to the point where I began to automatically question, I don't know that this is true, this thought that I'm having, which is traumatizing me. Let me actually see if it's true, rather than going with the mind all the time. And that's what's going to happen for you. You have a fire raging already. Just needs some more fuel, right? And life is giving you that fuel, that coal, every time you experience something that you don't want. You are not different than me. You are the same being. You're talking to yourself right now, answering yourself right now. And so everything that's happened for me is happening for you. There can be nothing impossible for you as the infinite self. And use everything. My advice would be to use everything that happens that you don't like as fuel. I'm going to, even if I don't know what that means in a particular moment, I'm going to offer this into the fire of my devotion to truth and let life figure out what that means and how to do it. That's the willingness, right? You've got this. You're right on track. Strangely enough, we have to sometimes become very desperate before things shift for us. And if you've been like that for a while, it's only because focus is on what you don't want, like you said. Bring focus to what you do want. And don't believe any thought that says it's not possible for you to wake up to the truth. If I've done it, so can you. You are my awakening, deepening in more and more bodies. The me in that sentence that I just said, the my, is something very big, very big. And it's just spreading outwards, this awakening to more and more bodies, like a awakening shockwave that's going out across everyone that I can possibly reach. So sending lots of love, and remember, you're right on track, as bad as it feels. Thanks, Anish.
I feel that there is only one frequency, love, and the mind interprets with stories about everything that happened, is happening, and will happen. By discarding all history, the apparent occurrence is a frequency of infinite love. And it seems that each character sounds a different frequency tone, producing a conscious dance, metaphorically. And there's no one doing anything. It is difficult to put into words the dancing of nothingness and everything. Could you kill what's left of history here?
Happy to kill it for you, definitely. Ultimately, what we think has happened um, belongs to the story of a separate being. If there is no person now, no separate person, only infinite consciousness writing in and then answering itself, then all of our personal history has to be sacrificed into that fire of devotion to that fact. There never was a person. And a willingness to look back at all our history and all our fears for the future as well, with that same eyes of consciousness rather than the person. Do I really know anything to be true that I think has happened? And that thought was very, very shocking. When I first had that thought, it's going to cost me too much awakening. But you're already at the point where you're willing to pay that cost, and that cost is simply to be willing to see that no person has ever existed, no karmic patterns belonging to no person. Just as you said, these individual expressions of the same consciousness presence. Individual but not separate because they're vibrations, and a vibration never ends. It might speed up in one place, look different, and then slow down in another place, and then speed up again, or be an infinite variety. But one infinite vibration that we call the universe, of which there are many little individual alterations if we could plot this vibrational frequency along a timeline. That doesn't equal history, that doesn't equal a person. There's just the formless consciousness appearing to vibrate as manifestation. Manifestation means, well, one of its many meanings, that word, is to make visible, to make it appear visible what was already here. To manifest. If you write a list or a manifest of items, it's only a list of what's already here. Nothing new is happening. Just infinite variations on a theme. The same theme. All body minds are just a recycling of, and all forms, in fact, of this one vibration that we call the universe, which is really the formless consciousness in disguise. And being willing to let go of all ideas is the key. Then there's simply peace. Even if there was a person with history, it would still only be a vibration appearing in the consciousness and non-different to the consciousness. Formlessness looking like a human being, and nothing has ever actually happened. Not in the way that we think, at least. So happy to destroy ideas like this, and thank you for asking. Thank you, Anish.
Hi, Helen. I have been listening to your teachings for a number of years, and they help me so much. I have both chronic fatigue and OCD, and believe they are connected to each other. I meditate, contemplate, and self inquire, and I'm seeing changes in my life. My energy is slowly improving, and OCD is manageable most of the time. I have identified a number of core beliefs, such as I'm not safe, I'm not good enough, and I don't deserve happiness. I have a lot of shame, anxiety, and self doubt, something I've experienced since childhood. And this and the core beliefs reflect in my life. At the moment, I feel I need some guidance on one particular worry, which is at the root of my illness, I feel. And that is being preoccupied with the thought of making an unforgivable mistake, which results in causing harm and then being punished and disapproved of, hated, either in this life or when I die. I know this doesn't fit with the idea of non duality and oneness, but these fears And being in such an unforgiving blame culture leads me to feel awful at the thought of doing something that could harm somebody. I feel chronic fatigue is my body's way of stopping me from going out and making mistakes in case this happens. And OCD makes me doubt my ability to cope with this uncertainty. I would really appreciate your help with this as it feels like such a big trigger and cause of illness in my life. Thank you so much, Helen.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad that your health and your energy levels are gradually improving. And this one here that you've pointed to is a big one, right? A loving, kind, open presence that we are. The idea that we could make a horrible mistake and cause harm to others is so um, opposite to what is really true that it really does tax the body to believe this. And it costs a lot in terms of energy. And I have seen people have these kinds of physical challenges as a subconscious way of protecting themselves. If I can't go and do something, then I'm not going to make a mistake. I'm in my own little environment. As awful as that is, on one level, I want to do more, and also I actually can't. I feel a little safer somewhere inside because of that. That may be the situation for you, as you've pointed to, or may not. But either way, looking at this very difficult belief, this idea, is going to free up a lot of life force energy and a lot of self-love. The first thing to note is that this is coming up for you because it's ready to be transcended. So when a mind begins to obsess over a certain thought or a way of thinking, it's usually because we're ready to see that it's not true. So I would encourage you in those moments where you feel more kind of able to focus, to begin to do self-inquiry if you haven't already, and to actually see that you are not a person, to actually experience it, that there's nobody living in this body. It's one thing to know it's here, it's another thing to see it. Because the major benefit of that is that we recognize that there's nobody making a decision and nobody choosing actions or words. Right now, there's nothing controlling in a personal way what words come out or how my hands move or whatever is said is coming spontaneously out of the silence and stillness and the deep connection and intimacy with the question and the questioner. It is my own self. And if I had to decide what to say and try to be helpful in what I say, then it would be awful. It'd be a very heavy burden, wouldn't it? And I might say the wrong thing. I might say something that is not only not beneficial, but it's actually harmful. So, first thing I really had to do was to free myself of this by directly inquiring, experiencing that I'm not really who I think I am at all, and to see it again and again. There's nothing here but formless, empty consciousness, looking like a human being, looking like a person, but not actually so. And that my decisions and words and actions are arising spontaneously. There's no one orchestrating those. The mind freaks out then. It says, well, if there's nobody orchestrating and controlling what I say or do, I might hurt someone else. Actually, it's the opposite. While I think there's someone else, well, I think there's others because I think I'm a separate person. Well, I think there's others to hurt. I might be responding from a place of separation where the life force is very low. And my thoughts and words and actions are going to be from that place of separation. Paradoxically, as I realize there aren't any other beings, it's all the one being, it's all me, it's all you, then it's impossible for me to say or do the wrong thing. Because of the unity, the deep, rich recognition of the oneness, which my mind is largely unaware of course, as is yours. then it's impossible to say and do the wrong thing or to cause any harm. You cannot intentionally or unintentionally hurt another being from the awakened place. It's the only safe place in that way because no longer are we distorting our perception of reality um, by believing in separation. A very quick example, somebody who say something to me and I would be constantly listening as a separate being, make sure I'm hearing them correctly, trying to figure out what to say in order to have the best outcome, not to upset them. But in my listening as a separate being, I didn't really hear what they were saying. And my response was not right, it was off. And it caused some upset. You're not really listening to me. And I was sure that I was. I was sure that I was. But when I'm just listening and not listening to another being, I will actually really hear what's said. And the response will be totally appropriate and beneficial. So that would be my suggestion, is to really see and look and find that you're not the decider. You're not the doer of actions. You're not the chooser of choices, not the thinker of thoughts. That there's only formless presence. And if you have done self-inquiry already, you said you've been with the teachings for a few years, then applying it here directly to what we're saying. Can you find a decider, a thinker, a chooser, an actor of actions? When I really looked, I had to honestly admit no. What is orchestrating my actions then? The formless infinite consciousness. And to the amount that those actions can be loving, compassionate, beneficial, is really dependent upon how much I have seen and convinced myself again and again that there are no separate beings. I'm not separate, you're not separate. One being experiencing itself through many, many, many bodies. So, hope that helps, and best wishes in continuing to recover from your challenges. So, I think we better make this the last question. We're just about out of time. Thanks, Anish.
Last question for this session. During meditation, I was bitten by a snake deity in the middle of my chest. What does this mean? And what should I do to make the pain subside? I've come across several such deities, such incidents since awakening. This was the only deity that scared me. I could feel the fangs they me, and I've heard that they are not supposed to be able to hurt someone. What does this mean?
So, I have to be honest and say that I don't know what it means. And I would suggest also to have that same perspective for yourself, to ask that question, to sit with that question, and maybe a pen and paper. What does this mean? What is this trying to show me? And allow whatever thoughts want to come, epiphanies or realizations to come. And to know most of all that we're always safe and protected, especially in our meditation, and that nothing can cause anything. This incident could not cause you to feel pain. It's only reflecting, showing some kind of belief that's there, probably around the heart chakra if it's in the chest area. But again, best not to know, not to decide. And physical pain can be a reflection of some kind of energetic pain, some belief that we're holding on to. And for most of us, the heart chakra, the heart center, is about our ability to love ourselves unconditionally and to let go of any self-judgment. But most of all, I'd like you to let go of any sense that you know why this happened or trying to figure it out with your mind. And if we have any experience that scares us, that seems to bring fear, it's a reflection of one idea, that we're not safe, which is an old idea, that we are a separate being that is vulnerable and has a finite, limited lifespan. And this idea that I'm not safe can reflect as our experiences, from the profound to the mundane, to this experience you've had in meditation, to an experience of not having enough money to feel safe, to almost stepping out accidentally when a car's coming really fast and, almost getting hurt in that way. Many things. So my feeling is that it's a reflection of I'm not safe, whatever emotion comes up. But best to ask. It doesn't matter who you ask, just asking, please, whoever's helping me right now, please show me what this means and what I can do with it. So I hope that helps. And thank you very much, Anish, for reading the questions so beautifully, deeply appreciated. And as I said, we do one of these every month, and we'll be back next month to carry on working through the queue of questions that we've got. And you are also more than welcome to join our community as well for more immediate answers. We have a very vibrant community, the Helen Hamilton Sangha. You'll be able to find the links as well in the description underneath this video. And we have a very vibrant WhatsApp community, which is like an online ashram that you can get faster help as well in there. And I do try to get on there every day as often as I can to answer questions on there as well. If you like the idea of a Sangha community, you are more than welcome. And again, you'll find the links below. Or just go to Helen Hamilton website and click on the homepage. There's a link there to join, and you'd be more than welcome. And thank you for sending in all your wonderful questions and sending lots of love, many blessings to you, and to know that you're never alone. We're always one being. We're always, always together. Lots of love. Thank you. Namaste.